welcome back to
Two Whores Opinions.
That stands for
Women Having Open Redacted Educational Studies.
I'm Phyllis.
And I'm Darla.
Strap in.
Or strap on.
Here we go.
All right.
Oh my god. Okay, today's topic, Sarah Bernhardt and Eleonora Duse.
Duse.
Eleonora Duse.
Eleonora Duse.
Thank you so much, Darla. Eleonora Duse.
Yes. So, as you know, our topic for December is theater history, which we are taking very seriously.
Oh my god.
Much more seriously than my last marriage. So.
Oh god.
But okay. Anyways, we're taking it very seriously, but because of that, it's taking us a lot longer than we had anticipated.
Yep.
So it's coming.
But we had to throw out this episode for you.
So here's a quickie for you.
Oh my god, you love your quickies.
I know I do.
This will be good.
That's also why my last marriage didn't work.
Poor David. Anyway,
He's fine.
Today's topic, the theater rivalry between two actresses. Just to set it all up for you, it happened in the late 1800s, early 1900s, Europe. There was a beautiful French woman.
Bernhardt.
And an ugly but talented Italian.
Duse. When we decided to do this project, we decided our question was going to be, because there's this rivalry between the two of them that's been written about for over 100 years, our question was, did both actresses lean into the differences and extremes of their acting style based on the critiques they got?
Hypothesis, though? We think they did.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do to introduce this whole thing is Darla has Sarah Bernhardt. I have Eleonora Duse.
Duse,
thank you so much, Darla. And we're going to do a 1 minute speech.
Sorry, there was a technical difficulty there. The technical difficulty being Phyllis forgetting how to fucking breathe.
All right, so I'm doing a rapid 1 minute
introduction
of Bernhardt, just so you understand
in
the
her
personality.
early life. Okay.
So I got this information from the Jewish Women's Archive that was published in 2021. I got it from American Heritage that was published in 1989, and an article that was written by the Roundabout Theater Company in 2018. So,
ready? Your 1 minute starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
She was born as Henriette Rosine Bernard to a Dutch Jewish courtesan, which is just a fancy term for slut, named Julie Bernard. She was Jewish, but she was raised in a convent and had aspirations to become a nun until her mother's lover got her a position with the Comédie de Française. Oh, no, excuse me, Comédie Française. There's no de. No D. That's sad for me. So she toured around the world when she got older, and she earned around $6 million just from her American tours alone. That's a lot of big bucks. 4 of her last 7 tours were labeled as her farewell tours. And fun fact, at the age of 55, in 1899, she was the first woman to play Hamlet. So, Bernhardt was a huge player in marketing her personality. She loved the notoriety, and she wanted to be well known, so she let crazy stories circulate. Like one time, there was a story of her striding along the back of a whale in the ocean during the winter and grabbing some whalebone for good luck. And another story where she went to J.P. Morgan's library, and he said, "Get out," and she said, "When I speak, men listen." And then he said, "You're scary, I like you."
Out of time. Wow. That's a lot. She's a character.
She is a character. So, Phyllis here is going to do the same thing with
Eleonora Duse.
Yes, you got it.
Oh my god. Okay, so all of my sources are from this one Italian dude named Guido Nicolai. I don't know how to speak Italian. He wrote a bunch of diaries about Duse on tour. So this is from 1906 to 1907. And then there's another play from 2018 called Play Into the Gods, Sarah Bernhardt, Eleonora Duse, and the rivalry that changed acting forever by Peter Radar. Are we ready?
Yeah.
3,
2, 1, go.
Okay, she was born into a family of actors. In fact, on her father's side, she was on the 4th generation of working actors. Her family had an acting troupe called the Copangina Duse. It was a third-rate acting troupe, and her entire family was poor and constantly on tour trying to get jobs. She was born in a hotel room on tour, and she also later died in a hotel room on tour. A working woman, what can we say? She was 4 at the time she got her first professional acting gig in a production of Les Mis. And when she was 22 years old, Eleanor and her father were hired for a 1880 to 1881 acting season, and the prima donna had to quit unexpectedly, so Duse got the role of the prima donna from a very early age. In the middle of the run, Sarah Bernhardt came, decided that she was going to act, And Duse was so excited to see her, and so she started watching her and went, I could do way better than her. And that is how she became famous and started acting like crazy. She was so excited to see her, so disappointed in her role model.
You had 3 seconds to spare. Way to go.
What can I say? I'm a fast worker. An effective but fast worker, if you know what I mean.
I certainly do. So,
there you
let's
go.
dish.
Those are 2 women.
Let's dish.
What do you want to say?
Well, I mean, there's just so much to say. You know, because, I mean, clearly just from the outset and the get-go.
Yeah.
These are very different women.
Very different women.
Very different women.
More different than you and me, and we're very different.
We are very different. No, because, I mean, here we have Bernhardt, who, as we already, just from the rundown that we got, larger than life.
Large.
Kind of went crazy, very successful in her life. Not that Duse wasn't, but just like Bernhardt was a larger than life person.
Well, from what I know about Bernhardt, her name was known worldwide. Worldwide. Everyone knew about her. Huge personality.
Yes.
Huge actor.
And then Duse, complete opposite.
She was quiet, she was small, but she had a really impactful acting style. Everyone loved it. Everyone, she would walk on stage, sit down. I swear to God, all she'd have to do was sit down or like lift up a teacup or something. Entire audience burst into tears. Not as big as Bernhardt, but those that knew her loved her. Loved her more than anything.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, I think this leads really nicely into our topic because part of our question that we've been posing is how, like, what was the acting style of these actresses and how did it change? Well, because there is this quote from it's written by Leighton Strachey. It's from 1880 and it's from one of like Bernhardt's first world tours, and it says, in Sarah Bernhardt's voice there was more than gold, there was thunder and lightning, there was heaven and hell, end quote, which is just really quite boom.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to listen to that voice just based off of that critique.
No, literally.
Wowza. See, Duse was different. At the very beginning of her career, Sigmund Freud, you know, the famous psychologist, I don't know, he was into theater. He really liked Duse.
Really?
In 1881, he came to a show and wrote he used the words hysteria and neurosis to describe her acting style, which also like sound like big words.
Those are big words,
but they're also very mental words.
Very.
She wasn't like a big thing. Another reporter in the same year noted her interaction with the audience as mysterious, sympathetic communication. So a lot more subtle.
Definitely. I have to go back just for a second, but do you think Sigmund Freud would like it if I called him Daddy?
Wasn't that his whole thing? I think he had a daddy kink.
No, I think he had a mommy kink. Because that's the Oedipus Rex complex thing.
But couldn't it be the other way? You know what? You would be in bed with Sigmund Freud. You'd call him Daddy.
Yes.
And he would then diagnose you.
He would. And
would you enjoy that? I think he would.
I don't know if that's role play that I would particularly enjoy.
Okay. See, I might.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, I always knew you were into some kinky shit.
Darla.
What? Oh, right, our listeners. Anyways, but, okay, so, we've brought up this whole point about, obviously, Bernhardt's larger-than-life Duse is more subtle, but, when it comes to critiques, critiques can be harsh. They can be rough. And based on those, a lot can change.
Well, just based on our Google reviews, some of you leave really harsh critiques.
And which we've done nothing to deserve.
Nothing.
So what if you know about my sex life, Kyle? You're a grown-ass adult. Grow up.
Kyle, stop listening to our podcast. This isn't for you.
I have a life. I have desires that will be met.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I am being demonized because I am an older woman.
It's okay. We got a lot of new listeners. Please leave kind Google reviews so we could get rid of Kyle.
Get rid of Kyle. That's the new hashtag. Hashtag get rid of Kyle. Thank you. So, but back to my point. A lot can change because of critiques. not this podcast,
No.
and certainly not Bernhardt's
No.
acting. For instance, so that critique that I read that was from 1880. Get this: 30 years later, in 1910, in the New York Tribune, it said that she fell very short of really impressive power in the great scene of excuse me, I got ahead of myself. Of really impressive power in the great scene of the play seems to us unquestionable. She is, in all likelihood, a woman of extraordinary talent rather than a woman of genius, but she is undoubtedly a positively great artist. This was 30 years later. Bernhardt did not change her acting at all.
In 30 years?
In 30 years. She kept it the same. She was like, I know what I'm good at, and I'm sticking to it.
That's so interesting. That reminds me of what happened with Duse. So Duse got a lot of the same reviews throughout her entire career. And then in 1888, they were like, hey, Duse, you're becoming famous. Let's do an Italian production of Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, which Bernhardt was known for playing Cleopatra. So this was a big feat for Duse to take on. And she did awful. The critics hated it. One wrote in a critique in 1888, if she could read Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, she would either drop the part from her repertoire.
Phyllis, I want you to say that word 3 times fast.
Repertoire. Did I get it?
You certainly got something. Keep going.
Okay. I'll just restart. If she could read Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, she would either drop the part.
If she could read, you can't read, you dumb bitch. Okay.
So, this critic said in 1888, if she could read Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, she would either drop the part from her repertoire or act it very differently. She would realize the play is not a badly constructed domestic drama in outlandish costumes, but a glorious love poem. Duse had her first ever flop.
Damn.
And she hated it. She swore from that day on that she would never play a character that wasn't suited for her. So she leaned way more into her acting style of the simplistic, dramatic, what did they even say? The simplistic, dramatic, domestic drama. She stuck with it and would not cross the barrier to play characters similar to what Bernhardt specialized in, which was big and outlandish.
Oh, let's talk about George Bernard Shaw.
Oh my god, George Bernard Shaw. Do you guys know who George Bernard Shaw is? It's okay if you don't. This is why we're doing a whole month on theater history.
Because you're ignorant.
Ignorant. We were ignorant last week, though.
I mean, yes, but now I know so much better, so I am better.
George Bernard Shaw. He's a huge famous playwright from the late 1800s.
You like My Fair Lady? Guess what? He wrote the play the musical was based on.
He did.
Pygmalion.
What? It's crazy. Like, people still put on his shows nowadays.
It's true.
All the time.
You know, my nephew,
Yeah.
he's in a production of this show called Misalliance.
Oh my god.
At this little cute little college called USU. I don't know what it stands for.
USU.
Maybe like uvula.
Oh my god, you were telling me about that. Isn't that premiering in like May or something?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's premiering at some point. If you guys want to watch a George Bernard Shaw, go to USU. Anyway, so we gotta go back. We gotta go back a little bit. The critics loved the rivalry.
Oh, that's right. I was getting ahead of myself.
They loved the rivalry. So guess what they did to poor Bernhardt and Duse?
Duse.
Oh my god. Duse. They put them in 2 theaters across the street from each other and had them perform the exact same show, cast as the exact same
role.
characters.
Mm-hmm.
People loved it. The shows were sold out every single night, going back and forth.
Because they wanted to compare.
To compare the two actresses and their huge rivalry.
Because it was chalked up all in the press about just this rivalry, because they were such different acting giants in their field, that it was like, of course they hate each other because they stand for completely different ideals. And that's how the press painted them. So of course this was like a field day for everybody around.
Including George Bernard Shaw. He came and saw both productions, and then he wrote a huge review on it.
Yes, so this is what he said. He wrote, this was in 1895, that he wrote about Sarah, quote, "It is all the greatest nonsense, nobody believing in it, the actress least of all. Blah, 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 blah. The order of the words may vary, but the woman is always the same. She does not enter into the leading character. She substitutes herself for it." End quote. He was less than impressed. He did not like it. And he thought Sarah was cheap. He thought that she was a show-off, and he was not impressed.
He thought she was beautiful, though. We gotta admit that.
That's true. He was horny.
She was beautiful.
He was horny for her.
Duse, not as beautiful. However, he loved her acting style. This is what he had wrote about Duse. He said, "Duse, with a tremor of the lip which you feel rather than see, and which lasts half an instant, touches you straight on the very heart. Duse's acting acquires from the fact that behind every stroke of it is a distinctively human idea." He loved her. Anyway, so both of these women
pitted against each other,
stuck to their acting styles even more so. Because, as we just heard from George Bernard Shaw, Duse almost always got really nice compliments from her critiques.
Always.
And so, of course, she was, except for that, Antony and Cleopatra.
Right, except for that.
So, of course, she was going to stick to her acting style even more. She loved being praised. She fucking loved being praised. I don't know what to say.
No, and then here's the thing about Bernhardt. Throughout her entire career, Bernhardt was commonly critiqued on lack of credibility or believability. There was this one story of her teacher coming to her. Like, this was when she first began her career, and this was compiled into an article by, one second, let me find it. Oh, this was written in The Life, Legends, and Legacy of Sarah Bernhardt, published in 2018. Apparently one of her teachers came to her after a performance of Iphigenia and said to her, "I can forgive you, and you'll eventually forgive yourself, but Racine in his grave never will." From the beginning of her career, she was critiqued. No one believed her. However, Bernhardt was a master of marketing, and what she wanted more than anything, rather than to be a great actress, was to be famous and to be well known. So all press is good press. So this rivalry between the two of them that pitted them against each other, these negative critiques of her, it didn't matter to her, because at the end of the day, it got her names in the paper. It got her to America numerous times, where she earned tons of money.
So much.
She got a lot of lovers. You know,
it worked out well for both of them.
It worked out well both for them because, you know, they were complete opposites, and they did want the same thing. They wanted to be well known and respected.
And the rivalry helped it.
End of story.
End of story. So, honestly, with our thesis that they stuck to their acting styles based on the critiques that they got, we've discovered, like always,
we were correct.
We're always right. What can I say? We're always going to be right.
We're so smart. Oh, and also some more drama that we couldn't really research because this is a quickie for you. They stole each other's lovers at one point. That
sounds exactly like our story from college.
What?
Anyway, I'm Phyllis.
I'm Darla.
And remember, kids, stay smart.
Stay slutty.
We'll see you next time.
What do you mean you stole my